This video delves into the tragic deaths of female backpackers, exploring accidents, animal attacks, foul play, and mysterious circumstances. These stories reveal the harsh dangers faced by hikers and the unsettling details of their untimely deaths. Join us as we unravel the mysteries and mourn the losses of these adventurous spirits. At the end of March 1988, 18-year-old Inga Maria Hauser left her home in Munich, Germany, and embarked on the trip of a lifetime. Despite her young age, Inga Maria was a confident and self-sufficient young woman. She was independent and had a strong desire to travel and discover the world. That snowy March, Inga Maria chose England as her first destination, the very starting point of her journey. Inga's mother, father, and sister dropped her off at a train station. Unbeknownst to her family, this would be the last time they ever saw Inga alive. Inga Maria's first stop was London. She fell in love with the city and made sure to let her family know. She sent them a postcard writing that she was entranced by London. She even phoned her mother to gush about her trip thus far. Inga Maria spent a few more days in London before leaving for Oxford on Sunday morning, the 3rd of April. While in Oxford, she stayed at a youth hostel. A journal entry she wrote during that time reads, "Stayed at the youth hostel, ate too much, decided to go to Bath." During these days, Inga Maria sent her family another postcard, telling them just how much she liked England. She wished she'd stay a year longer. She commended the English, whom she thought kind and ready to help. Inga asked her family not to worry about her, feeling that she would be safe. Inga Maria left Bath on the 5th of April, before moving on to Cambridge, from where she traveled to Bristol and then Liverpool. She was always on the move, wanting to see as much of the country as she could. In the early hours of Wednesday, the 6th of April, the young woman caught a night train to Inverness, leaving England for the far north of Scotland. She sent another postcard from Inverness, letting her family know her journey was going smoothly, though she admitted her money was slowly running out. The same day, on April 6th, Inga Maria traveled to Stranraer. There, she boarded a ferry to Larne in Ireland. She had 3 more days before she was supposed to meet up with a friend in Wales, so why not spend these days doing even more exploring? Her last ever journal entry reads, "Wonder where I stay tonight. Need more money." The ferry docked late that night, leaving Inga Maria only a short window to board the train destined for Belfast, the way she intended to. But Inga Maria never made it on the train. 2 weeks later, a sheep farmer found Inga Maria Hauser lying dead in Ballypatrick Forest Park, near Ballycastle in County Antrim, about an hour's drive away from Larne. She was out in the open, lying face down on the ground just off a dirt track. Police were called and an investigation began immediately, given the violent circumstances of Inga Maria's death. It was obvious that the young woman had suffered tremendously before her death. She was beaten around the face and head. DNA evidence found on her body indicated she had suffered an attempted sexual assault. Her neck was broken as a result of what police would describe as a ruthless, vicious attack. Her belongings were scattered around her body with the notable exception of her passport, which was missing. Police were able to identify Inga Maria because they found her identity card. But why take her passport and leave her ID card out in the open? And why leave the body out in the open? It was as if Inga Maria's killer wished for his crime to be witnessed. But how did Inga Maria, an independent, cautious young woman, arrive in Ballypatrick Forest? Her family was adamant that Inga Maria wouldn't have ever entered the car of an unknown man. But all evidence indicated that she was driven to Ballypatrick Forest on the night of April 6th, and as detectives would eventually conclude, she had to be driven by someone who knew the forest like the back of his hand, since Inga Maria was found in a remote area. A clinical pathologist later concluded that Inga Maria's neck was broken at the murder scene, but that it is possible that the attempted sexual assault and beating took place elsewhere. The case was baffling, and police had no conclusive leads. They managed to create a full DNA profile, but despite the largest DNA screening the UK had ever seen, they failed to find a match. It's been 36 years since Inga Maria Hauser was brutally assaulted and killed. No one has been convicted of the crime. Her father died in 2006 and her mother died in 2019. They spent their lives mourning their youngest daughter. Inga Maria's older sister hasn't recovered from the tremendous loss. Her family wishes for peace, but for now, the killer remains at large. On May 19, 1996, A Sunday, 24-year-old Julianne Julie Williams and her partner, 26-year-old Laura Lolly Winans, entered Shenandoah National Park in the state of Virginia. The two nature enthusiasts were on a celebratory backpacking trip. Julie had just gotten a new job that she was set to start in Lake Champlain, Vermont on June 1, 1996. But Julie never got to start her new job. Instead, that's the date police found her and Lolly's dead bodies. But what happened to the two women? Julie and Lolly arrived in Shenandoah National Park on Sunday, May 19, 1996. They were accompanied by their beloved dog, a golden retriever named Taj. They began hiking the White Oak Canyon Trail, a challenging route which they eventually had to abandon a few days later due to rain. On May 24th, the day when they were last seen, Julie and Lolly hitched a ride with a park ranger and made sure to renew their camping permits before resuming their adventure. The next thing they did was climb Hawksbill, Shenandoah's highest mountain. That night, the two women made camp next to a stream near the famous Appalachian Stream. The couple had a camera which they'd used to take pictures up to that point. Both Julie and Lolly were nature lovers, so they knew to follow park rules. As such, they made sure to set their camp away from designated trails, fire roads, and developed areas. But they weren't too far away from civilization either. In fact, their camp was only a half-mile from Skyland Lodge, a very popular gathering place. Moreover, it was the weekend after Memorial Day, which indicated the lodge was probably packed with tourists. Still, the women knew to stay out of sight. It's no wonder they respected the rules. At 26, Lolly Winans was studying to become a wilderness guide. She loved the outdoors and believed people could find themselves in the wilderness as she had. 24-year-old Julie Williams, on the other hand, was studying to become a geologist. The pair had met about 2 years before at a nonprofit organization offering outdoor adventures and educational programs for women. It was May 31st, a week after the couple had last been seen, when Julie's father, Thomas Williams, reported his daughter missing. Park rangers were alerted and started a search for the two women. The first thing they found was Julie and Lolly's car. The vehicle was parked just north of Skyland Lodge. Park rangers then began hastily searching all adjacent trails, but they only managed to locate Taj, the couple's golden retriever. Taj was found wandering through the park, unleashed. By now, it was becoming glaringly obvious that something horrifying had happened to Julie and Lolly. The two women weren't found until the following evening on June 1st, the very day Julie was supposed to start her new job. The rangers found their lifeless bodies still at their campsite near Bridle Trail, one of the less traveled trails in the park. Julie Williams and Lolly Winans had been bound and gagged and then brutally murdered. The investigation into their murder was handled by special agents with the National Park Service, in conjunction with the FBI. Investigators used the couple's camera to map their last days in the park, up until May 24th. The crime scene was processed by the FBI, along with the Virginia State Police's crime scene unit. They concluded that Julie and Lolly had also been sexually assaulted. The National Park Service and the FBI conducted a nationwide search for the killer, following up on around 15,000 leads, but nothing came out of it. A year later, when a female Canadian tourist was threatened by a man inside the park, investigators thought they had found Julie and Lolly's killer, especially since they found hand and leg restraints hidden inside the man's car. Darrell David Rice had a history of violent behavior against women. According to prosecution documents, he became a possible suspect for a variety of reasons, including the obvious parallels in geographic location, the predatory behavior exhibited, and the exclusive selection of female victims. Videotape showed him entering the park on May 25, 1996. Rice also said he believed Julie and Lolly deserved to die because of their sexual orientation. It seemed obvious that Rice was their killer, but the case against him crumpled in 2003 when investigators tested a hair found at the crime scene and realized it didn't match either Rice or the victims. It took nearly 3 decades for Julie and Lolly's killer to be identified. In 2024, advanced DNA technology determined that Walter Leo Jackson killed Julie Williams and Lolly Winans. Jackson, who was a convicted serial rapist, died in prison 6 years ago in 2018. It was August 29, 2018. Diana Bober was a 55-year-old avid hiker from Gresham, Oregon. That Wednesday, the petite woman set out to hike the Hunchback Trail, one of the most popular hikes in Mount Hood National Forest, Oregon. Most of Diana's family lived out of state, but they still kept in touch. The woman spoke with some of them before setting out on her trip alone. Despite being a petite woman, Diana was independent. She would hike alone several times a week. She wasn't really a survivalist and didn't carry a tent in her backpack, but she was full of life and ideas, an outdoors woman through and through. How could she have possibly known that that particular hike would be her very last one? Armed only with her backpack and her liveliness, Diana set out on her trip. She parked her car at the base of Mount Hood and began her day hike, but she never made it back. A day later, on August 30th, 2 hikers found Diana Bober's backpack. It was abandoned, and there was no sign of its petite, red-headed owner. The 2 hikers reported their findings. A few days later, Diana Bober's out-of-state family reported her missing. They last heard from her on August 29th. It was clear to them that something was wrong. They feared Diana was in danger or worse. Diana's family members chose to fly to Oregon from Virginia and Texas to be together. The woman's car was found at the Zigzag Ranger Station. Rescue crews found Diana Bober on Monday, September 10, 2018. She was dead. Her body was discovered down a steep incline at the bottom of a ravine, roughly 300 feet off the Hunchback Trail, about a mile from where she had parked her car on August 29th. But how did she die? An autopsy made some shocking discoveries. Diana Bober had a broken neck, but she also had more than a dozen puncture wounds to the nape of her neck. Her hands were also wounded. Her injuries were consistent with an animal attack, and more specifically, a cougar attack. According to Diana's sister, the woman had tried to fight off the animal using a sharp object, a stick and repellent spray. Oregon's wilderness is home to more than 6,000 cougars, but these animals very rarely attack humans. So why did the animal target Diana Bober? To find the answers to this question, authorities first had to catch the animal. 4 days after the discovery of the body, on September 14th, a trail camera captured footage of a large cougar. Search dogs were used to find the big cat, which was shot and killed off the Hunchback Trail that afternoon. The cougar's body was sent to southern Oregon for analysis, but the lab wasn't able to extract DNA from any of the evidence provided, which included Diana's clothing. This happened because of the rainy weather and the significant lag between when Diana's body was found and the date the attack likely happened. Even more, officials couldn't determine why the attack happened, given that the cougar wasn't emaciated, nor was it rabid or otherwise diseased. The animals also hadn't had kittens in years, so it didn't kill Diana Bober out of maternal instinct. However, according to the state police report, all available evidence indicates that this particular cougar was responsible for Diana Bober's demise. It was the early hours of March 5, 2019. 23-year-old Catherine Shaw was a yoga teacher from the serene village of Long Hanborough, near Whitney in Oxfordshire, who had embarked on a journey to Central America, not knowing that it would forever change her life and the lives of those who knew her. Catherine was staying with a friend at the Eco Hotel in the San Pedro Lake Aitlan area. That night was a restless one for the 23-year-old. She was seen leaving the hostel at about 1:37 a.m. before returning at 3:19 a.m., only to depart again at 5:32 a.m., accompanied only by a stray puppy she'd found somewhere in the area. Catherine had a clear purpose that morning. She loved sunrises and wanted to watch this upcoming one from the perfect spot. Little did she know this hike would be her last. When she failed to return to her hotel, Catherine's friend reported her missing, worrying for her safety. Catherine had left her passport, money, and mobile phone behind. There was no way to reach her. The news of her disappearance quickly spread, sparking a massive search operation. Helicopters buzzed overhead and sniffer dogs scoured the rugged terrain. Authorities also employed the use of drones and a dive team. Catherine's friends launched a social media campaign to raise awareness. Her parents, Tarquin and Ann Shaw, released a video appeal, desperately seeking any information about their daughter. For days, the search continued with an air of hope mingled with dread. The situation grew even more bizarre when 2 separate discoveries were made. Catherine's jacket was found on a mountain trail not far from where she was last seen, and a puppy, which she had been seen with, was found shivering and crying on a hiking trail near El Naudis Mountain. On Monday, March 11th, any hope of finding Catherine alive was shattered. Police discovered Catherine's body about 100 meters from the Indian Nose Trail, in a wooded, uninhabited area. Catherine was found naked and in a state of decomposition, which prompted much online speculation about foul play. The speculation was further fueled by a post-mortem examination, which concluded that Catherine had died of multiple injuries, including severe hemorrhaging caused by a traumatic brain injury. But an inquest into Catherine's death shed light on the circumstances of her passing, thus putting an end to all speculation. According to Coroner Salter, Catherine had likely been deceased for 4 to 6 days before her body was found. Even more, it was revealed that Catherine was a very spiritual person, and as her father put it, quite capable of removing her own clothing, embracing her natural surroundings with a refreshing lack of self-consciousness. According to her family, Catherine had been fasting in the days prior to her disappearance. This indicated that Catherine may have passed out or fallen due to her lack of intake of food and fluid, causing the wounds to her body. Catherine's plans had been to explore the volcanic landscapes of Central America before heading to a festival in Colombia, a testament to her adventurous spirit and love for life. It was a bitterly cold afternoon when Li-Fei Ada Huang set off for her solo hike in the rugged terrain of the San Gabriel Mountains on February 4, 2024. But Mount Baldy, which is known for its breathtaking vistas and treacherous paths, was about to be hit by a historic storm. A ferocious atmospheric river storm was brewing, ready to unleash its fury on Southern California. Li-Fei was 22 years old and a University of California Irvine student. She was also an avid hiker who often preferred to travel alone. That Sunday, she texted her friends to let them know about her plans to hike solo. At around 1:59 p.m., she sent a video to her boyfriend as she approached the trail parking lot. Over the next 2 hours, the young woman posted several videos on social media, showing the snow-covered hills surrounding her and the steep drop into the valley. The weather was far from being gentle. At about 4 p.m. that day, communication stopped. By the time Huang's friends and family realized she was missing, it was nearly midnight. Panic set in as they dialed 911, desperate for help. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department quickly sprang into action, assembling the West Valley Search and Rescue Crew. These seasoned professionals knew the mountains well, but even they were daunted by the impending storm. At 2:30 a.m., the rescue crew reached Mount Baldy. The mountain was laden with heavy snow. Despite their best efforts, they found no trace of Huang. As dawn broke on February 5th, the storm's full wrath descended. The National Weather Service issued flood, winter storm, and high wind advisories for approximately 40 million people. The rescue operation became a battle against nature itself. Heavy snowfall and avalanche risks hampered their every move. The search teams were eventually forced to retreat because they were in danger. By then, the mountain was effectively buried in snow. On the 6th day, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a civilian whose drone had spotted what seemed to be a human body. But the treacherous conditions persisted, and rescuers couldn't immediately reach the location of the body. The search teams made camp on the mountain, braving the freezing night. The rescuers found Li-Fei Huang, lifeless in the upper San Antonio Creek Falls area at 7:45 a.m. on Sunday, a week after her disappearance. Her body was airlifted off the mountain. The cause of Li-Fei Huang's death remains undisclosed, with some people speculating whether Li-Fei had knowingly chosen to be on the mountain during the storm.